Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our council meeting for Tuesday, May the 5th, and a new month. So, and how many weeks into pandemic living? Our council meeting for there we go. Okay. Just before we get started, I just had a couple of words to share with everyone. Yesterday was actually International Firefighter Day, and we recognized firefighters on May the 4th because May the 4th is not only Star Wars Day, but it's dedicated to honoring Saint Florian. And Saint Florian is a symbolic saint of firefighting. And he is believed to be one of the first commanding firefighters of an actual battalion. And it is believed that he saved an entire village in ancient Rome in circa 300 AD that was engulfed in flames with just one single bucket of water. In Lucan Biddulph, we are fortunate to be served by 2 fire departments. And these, of course, are volunteer fire departments. If you see any members of the Lucan Fire Department or the Biddulph Blanchard Granton Fire Department, please make sure that you thank those members for their service. This week also marks the 25th anniversary of Emergency Preparedness Week. And all week long, the emergency team through the County of Middlesex is sharing helpful tips for the general public to be reminded how we can be better prepared for emergencies. And of course, this is being shared on all of our social media. This week is also Mental Health Week. And in Lucan Biddulph, we are all keenly aware of the importance of looking after our mental health. The Health Unit and CMHA are great resources for strategies and tips to keep our mental health healthy. As I've mentioned before, this time of quarantine, physical distancing does not mean isolation. We are all social creatures and we need those connections. As always, look out for your neighbors, your acquaintances, your friends, your family. Some may not be as supported as you are. Lastly, I want to make a huge shout out to our residents and businesses who continue to respect the parameters that we find ourselves living in. Continue to support our local businesses, those that have been deemed essential, but those that are reinventing themselves and finding creative ways to remain in business. Last week on our call with all of the organizations involved with Bacon Fest, the conversation quickly went to COVID-19 and pandemic living. I was so touched by the words of Sheila Hodgins, who spoke so passionately about our community and how proud she was, how proud she is of everyone, and how everyone is responding to the challenging times that we're in. This does not go unnoticed. We around the Horseshoe are around the Horseshoe because we love our community. And I want to say to everyone, keep up the great work. It's difficult, there's no question about it, but it is paying off and we are seeing the dividends. And before we know it, more things will be relaxed and we will be out of this. So thanks everyone for your efforts and keep it up. And with that, we'll get the meeting started. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none, we don't have an in-camera session tonight, but we do have a delegation from our friends at Jacob. And at this point in time, I'd like to welcome Lucas to join us in tonight's meeting. And he's going to deliver the Lucan Biddulph 2019 annual report on our water distribution system. So welcome, Lucas.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I am here tonight to present the 2019 summary and annual reports for the Lucan water system. These reports have to be completed each year. So there's a summary report at the beginning that has to be done by March 31st. And then after that, there's an annual report that gets submitted to the ministry and it has to be done by the end of February. So I'm not going to read the whole thing word for word because I will probably take up too much of your time, but I would just like to highlight a few points that I thought people might find interesting. Some modifications and maintenance to the system. We experienced one water main break on municipal property in 2019. It was on William Street heading out to the booster station. It was a class 1 break. So that means there was positive pressure on the pipe and there was no boil water advisory issued. Installation of new water main. During 2019, Lucan Biddulph assumed 2 new sections of water main. One was on Saintsbury line and consisted of 140 meters of 150 millimeter diameter PVC pipe. And the second was on Marlene and Kleinfield Ave, and it consisted of 285 meters of 150 millimeter PVC pipe. In 2019, we collected 20 lead samples from municipal buildings and private dwellings, and there were none that were over the allowable limit. So you scroll down a little more, the compliance section. The Lucan Biddulph system was inspected by the Ministry of Environment, Conservation, and Parks, and the inspection report came back with no non-compliances or recommendations. Next, I wanted to touch on the flows. So the main SCADA computer spits out a daily flow volume, and we record it each day. So basically, that is a number that the entire system, Lucan, Granton, and even a small section of Clandeboye, it gets recorded. So in 2019, out of the 365 days, we had an average of 793 cubic meters per day. And I didn't include this in the report, but I just thought I would touch on, in 2018, the average daily flow was 836. And in 2017 was 817 cubic meters. So we are right in the ballpark. And in fact, we even were slightly below the last 2 years. So that's, maybe a bit comforting to know that there isn't, a leak out there that we don't know about, or we are in our average, flow area, if you will. And that pretty much does it for me for the summary report. Sorry if I'm moving along here quick or it's tough to follow along, but next I have the annual report. So this is the Ministry of Environment template. And I'd like to scroll all the way down to page 3. And I would like to touch on the microbiological testing. So we don't have any raw or treated water in Lucan Biddulph. We get the water already treated from Lake Huron primary water supply. But there's one number at the right-hand side of the page that I want to touch on. I have it highlighted here. It's the range of HPC results. And what HPC means is the heterotrophic plate count. So I'm not a scientist, but what that means is there's no adverse test result, or there's no adverse number for HPC. What that means, it's an indicator of the number of microorganisms living in suspension in your water main. So 180, I had people come up to me, oh, what's that 180 there? Everything else is 0. But matter of fact, that is a very good number. Getting the water already treated from Lake Huron means that there's not a high content of iron, and the Lucan Biddulph distribution system, almost all of it is PVC. So that HPC, those microorganisms, they like to stick on the outside of the pipe, and generally they are They thrive under old cast pipe or ductile iron pipe where you have a lot of sedimentation, but PVC pipe is generally is not a good breeding ground for these microorganisms. So 180 is actually very good. I've been in systems where maybe not the annual average, but certain samples have been in the thousands. And then if you consistently have a number over 1,000, you may have to look at flushing or something to get kind of the crud out of the water main. So sorry if I'm rambling on here, but that is pretty well it for that. And the next page, on page 4, the only thing I'd like to touch on is a summary of organic parameters. Since Lucan, we don't produce any raw water, we are not required to take any of these samples. So the Lake Huron primary water supply system would have to take these samples, and they send a report to us every year. There are a couple of items that we do sample, HAAs, haloacidic acids, and THMs, trihalomethanes, which are cancer-causing organisms in the water. We sample for them 4 times a year, so quarterly, and they were well below the allowable limit. And other than that, I think that's it for me for the annual and summary reports.
Okay, that's great. Thanks so much, Lucas. Questions? Deputy Mayor Dave.
Yeah, that water break there on William Street, maybe Jeff will be able to answer this also. But on that break, I think that's the second time there was a break there in 3 years. And I was just, if that's the same spot, is there something we can be proactive on and purchasing any sort of, you know, at the time of the break, it's obviously emergency, you got to mend it. And it's just, it's a little concerning if that was at the same spot, same break as about 3 years ago. That's my question. And is there anything we can do to do a better job, as it's very expensive when this happens?
So the first part of your question is, yes, that was actually the exact same spot as we had the break. I think 2 or 3 years ago, you might be right, 3 years. And actually, I think what happened there is that is the high pressure pipe. So ordinarily, everything is within 60 PSI, but that one is over 100 PSI. And so I think what happened was we maybe didn't either tighten down the bolts quite tight enough, or it was actually the same curb stop fitting or the main stop fitting, excuse me, that actually leaked. So 3 years ago, we replaced the entire pipe or the entire section of pipe, and we put a new saddle on, and it maybe just wasn't torqued 100%, or we're not 100% sure what happened, but yes, that was the exact same spot. It was a fitting that we used for the first time. Since it was such a high PSI pipe, we generally don't use those fittings because they're very expensive, and a regular one under 50, 60 PSI will do just fine. So it was maybe a bit of a learning curve. That was our first time fixing it on such a high pressure main. But yeah, I mean, since then, knock on wood, it's been fine. So.
Okay, thanks. You're on mute.
Any other questions for Lucas? Councillor Reagan, Dan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to maybe bring this up later with Jeff, but I was going to ask that since like everybody's at home now, there's people are using water a lot more. They're home 24/7. And what I'm just doing, and it's a lot. I mean, our consumption's going up. Is there anything in place to monitor or test that water more frequently? I mean, it just, again, it's an it may be higher volumes. I'm just concerned that if we're putting a bigger strain on the system, are we testing more? Could more things go wrong? You know, do we need to be watchful? Do we be looking at other things?
I don't know if, sorry to interrupt, Jeff, if you want to say something, but as of right now, the ministry hasn't set any special guidelines. We treat the water as if there was nobody using it or if every single person was using it. The water is safe 24/7, whether yeah, everyone's at work or everyone's at home. We are still performing our regular tests, doing our regular checks. We haven't cut any corners, but as in regards to increased sampling or monitoring, we haven't done that, and we feel whether there's 800 cubic meters being used a day or 900 cubic meters, the system is well below its capacity. We don't think, and Jeff, I think we can agree there isn't a huge issue right now, I think.
Yeah, I would just jump in there, and one of the things, I know the water system, 800 cubic meters is well below what we can do at that system. So, but what I did do for Councillor Reagan, that I did check in with our wastewater plant to see if their flows have increased, and they're up slightly. It's very hard to tell because you have to take in effect melts and rain events and that sort of thing. But we use the Granton system because we can narrow down the numbers a lot easier on the Granton system, and they are up slightly. But in the grand scheme of things, when we start using the more water, say during the summer months, we're still not even there yet. So as for the COVID being at home, our systems are working well within their limits and well within operating procedures and guidelines. So
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Great. Any other questions for Lucas at this time? Okay, well, thanks for coming in, Lucas. We do have a motion with your recommendation to accept the Lucan-Biddulph Water Distribution System Annual and Summer Reports for 2019 as presented. Can I get a mover in, or Jeff, did you want to add something? Sorry.
Madam Mayor, just before we're done, after we do the motion, I just would like to say one comment before Lucas leaves, that's all.
Sure. Yep, great. If I can get a mover and a seconder for the motion. Councillor Westman and Councillor Reagan. And all in favor? Or I guess you should, yeah, all in favor. We're supposed to be saying all opposed, but this one I'll do all in favor. Okay, that's great, thanks. And that is carried. And Jeff, did you have a couple comments to make?
Yeah, just before Lucas leaves, there's one item I wanted to bring up to council just while Lucas is here, and that's our lead testing program. We did apply for the ministry to give us an exemption until the COVID situation is maybe, if I can say, under control or better defined. So we actually have to go into a number of houses and take lead sampling. So obviously we can't be going in people's homes at the present moment. So Lucas and myself, we worked on an exemption, and the ministry was really good about it. Although it came in, the exemption was to be brought back by April 15th. It actually didn't come back, I believe, Lucas, till the 22nd or the 23rd, something along those lines. So it was hard. It was too bad that the timing was off, but they have given us an exemption on going into people's homes for the lead testing. Now, as soon as we can arrange to get those tests done with the conditions of the distancing, we'll do that and get that done. But I just wanted to bring that up to council that we did get that exemption, but we will, as soon as are capable, follow up with those lead sampling. So, Lucas, did you want to add anything on top of that?
No, I think, we've been working very closely, I mean, not physically, but with Lucan-Biddulph, and Jeff has been great. We've certainly had to adjust a few minor things, but yeah, so far so good. And yeah, thank you very much for me taking your time and listening to me. And everybody stay safe. And hopefully the next time we see you, we'll be more in a normal setting again.
Okay. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lucas. And the same goes for us. We hope that you and your family stay safe. And just wanted to thank you again for the partnership between Lucan Biddulph and Jacobs. It's great and it works well. And we're proud to be part of the same team. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so moving on, you've got your minutes from April 21st. And if there is nothing to be amended on those minutes, can I get a mover and a seconder to approve them? Councillor Reagan and Councillor Mastarakis, all opposed, and that is carried. Those are adopted. Thank you. Business arising, everything is ongoing. And the only one that was added, I think, and we spoke about it, was the Frank Street construction project. And that's just ongoing, and Jeff has certainly spoken to that in the past. Is there anything that council wanted added to business arising or wanted an update on? Councillor Reagan.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering, is there an update coming for Nagle Drive?
Yes, there will be. Yeah,
Later.
Jeff will be speaking about that in his report. Okay.
Thank you, Madam.
Okay. Moving on to communications. The first one that has been, and the only one for that matter, that has been pulled by staff is the document that the province released regarding the framework for reopening the province. And Ron, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this document that was released last Thursday from the province sort of sets out sort of the very rough framework as to how this is going to, number one, what needs to happen as far as the cases of COVID and everything, how that needs to flow out. They need to see a 2 to 4 week reduction, a gradual reduction before they start lifting restrictions. And they're going to do that in 3 different stages. So they're going to do this very methodically and slowly. What they haven't said is you know, what the first businesses will be when they lift those restrictions. So we're yet to see what that actually means and how that's going to actually work. The county CAOs have been meeting, and actually that's part of my other report there, on a weekly basis. But what we're going to try and do is remain consistent or be consistent across all the lower tiers in the county as to how and when that happens. We have a Lucan Biddulph staff meeting tomorrow just to start that discussion. I want everybody to start thinking about what that looks like and what they feel comfortable with, what concerns they may have, and how we can address those. So we're gonna have just a very brief and general discussion tomorrow on that. But yeah, that's going to be a work in progress, and hopefully we can get something that's almost like a standard operating protocol, if you want to call it that, and that we hopefully can be consistent across the entire county. So.
All right, any questions on that? Councillor Reagan. Yep.
Great, thank you, Madam Mayor. So Ron, do we, does the municipalities have like any say in how we open it, or we're just going to take direction from the province? Because we're all unique, right? So I'm just wondering if, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it something that we have input to, or is it just going to come right down and which is, it's fine. I mean, we're going to listen to, you know, our healthcare professionals and that, but I'm just wondering about whether or not we have any input into that.
No, that's a good question, Councillor. I think what you'll see is we'll have some limited input. I think by and large, we're going to take our direction from number one, the province, and number two, the health unit. And so it's going to, like I said, it's going to be rolled out probably over the next 2 to 4 weeks, what that framework is going to look like. So we'll keep an eye on the numbers. The numbers are what's going to drive this forward. So we'll, I'm hoping to have a better handle on what that's going to look like for the next meeting, or possibly the first meeting in June.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ron.
Great. Were there any other reports that we received in our communications package that council wanted to discuss or had questions on? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our committee reports. CEDC, anything, Lisa?
No further updates from the committee, but as you may have heard, Bacon Fest was indeed canceled for 2020. So we're just working on right now getting with finance and getting all the refunds sent off to the vendors and ticket holders. And like I said, we're having a couple dates where people can come and get cash for their tickets that they've purchased at Clark's. Other than that, the online tickets have all been refunded. And like I said, we're just working on kind of canceling everything and planning for 2021.
Can you just remind us what dates those are for those people that bought tickets at Clark's?
Yep, it'll be the Wednesday, May 20th from 5 to 7 p.m. And then Saturday, May 23rd, I believe it's 10 to 1.
Okay, and that'll be here at the township office?
That'll be actually at the Lions Active Center.
Oh, okay. At the Lions Active Center.
Yeah, Paul had a great suggestion because then we can put people from the front door and funnel them back out to that side door, so we have less people coming together.
Yeah, it's easier for social distancing.
Yeah.
Okay, so just council, if anybody asks you, it's Wednesday, May 20th or Saturday, May 23rd.
And we'll be putting out a newsletter with that information as well.
Yeah, great. Any questions on for that? Okay, Blue Water Recycling, Dave.
No, next meeting is May 21st.
Lake Huron, I don't have a meeting until June. If anybody follows social media though, they are doing a number of repairs to the pipeline. And if you follow them through Facebook and they've got the pictures on their on the website, it's quite fascinating the work that they're doing. So they're certainly taking advantage of no traffic to be able to do all these repairs. ABC and Upper Thames.
Yeah, we've held a Zoom meeting for each of the conservation authorities. Obviously, most of the conversation for both have to do with the lockdown and our facilities and revenue flows that are no longer happening. We have a lot of staff that are working from their homes, the administrative staff. Our park staff are practicing social distancing, and we're making the best of the situation. There are some hopes that later in the summer we'll be able to resume some of our regular trail activities and things like that. But as it stands right now, we're kind of in limbo like everybody else. So that's about it.
Any questions for Alex on either ABCA or Upper Thames? Okay, great, thank you. Fire boards, we have an upcoming meeting for the Granton Fire Department. Parks and Rec, I don't think there's anything there. And nothing from Canada Day. Okay, staff reports, Ron.
Just unmute myself there. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So the activity report was submitted in the council package. The first item there, we had a bit of a win last week. It took a bit of work to get that moving, but Glavin Coatings, the largest industrial user out there, has been restarted, so that's a good thing. I think Mr. Glavin was very happy to be able to get things going again. And of course, I think at the last meeting we touched on the fact that Tony Gertz's construction is also restarted, and that was because he was in the food service industry. So Glavin was lucky that they were actually able to sort of combine a number of uses or a number of customers that then put them into the qualified category for that exemption. So that was nice to see. The second point there, the modernization grant, Morgan at the county, the head of a county IT is in charge of that, and they are in the process of evaluating the submissions. So that should be coming out in the next month. Again, the mayor touched on the fact that the Biddulph Blanchard Fire Board meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday night, and that is via Zoom as well. The Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, they had a due date of January 1st, 2021 for that. Obviously, in light of the COVID stuff, they've agreed to push that back. I don't believe they set a hard, firm date yet. I think they want to see how long this COVID situation plays out before they give us a date on that one. The county is taking the lead on that as far as that goes, so thank you very much to the county. The emergency control group meetings, we're having regular weekly Friday morning meetings on that one. Seems to be running on autopilot a bit now, I'd suggest. Hopefully nobody gets too bored of that, but I think we can maybe shorten them up so they don't intrude on everybody's schedule too much. And the one there in Middlesex County CAO meetings, we've been having weekly meetings, and those are I find them very, very helpful because, again, there's all the county CAOs are in that one, and it's interesting to hear what everybody's doing and what situations they've encountered and how they've resolved them. So I find some value in it, and I'm really hoping that they continue. Maybe not on a weekly basis, but certainly a monthly basis. It does have its advantages. You don't have to. There's no drive time. There's no real inconvenience, so it's quite handy to have. And again, that is helping us in sort of putting everything together and being consistent. So, and the last item on my list there, the Maggie Smith is our new full-time employee. Obviously, she's no stranger to most of you. She was our summer student last year and has continued on in a part-time manner. So she will be the friendly face that everybody sees at the front counter. So again, welcome and congratulations to Maggie. And Madam Mayor, that's my report.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Ron. Any questions for Ron? Okay, seeing none. And I would echo Ron's comments, and I would imagine everybody else around the council table would echo it too, as a big hearty welcome to Maggie. She'll be a great addition to the team. So it's good. We have nothing from Bill or anything from you, Tina?
I'm sure everybody knows, but the AMO conference was canceled. They're going to be doing a virtual conference if you're interested, but I have heard from Dave, but if anyone else wants to let me know how they want to proceed with that. The hotel bookings are automatically going to be refunded, and the flights I'll have to look into further, because I believe in 2021 it's in London. Is that correct? Yeah. So we'll see what we can do with Air Canada there. Other than that, no.
Okay, great, thanks. Any questions for Tina? Okay, Catherine, Finance.
Thank you. So I just have one report there. It's more for just information. I wasn't really have much to present on that. I wanted to just say that we are participating in a hedging program with LAS for our majority of our electricity. I think about 65% is hedged. And that just gives you our savings, our net savings for last year of $7,300 by using that program. So just for your information. And then the other thing I'm working on is I'm pulling numbers together regarding any financial impacts due to COVID-19. And I should have something to present the next council meeting.
Okay.
For discussion.
Okay.
Other than that, we're healthy and safe.
Good. Councillor Regan.
I just had a question about the monies that we're spending for COVID-19 on COVID-19. Are those recoverable, Catherine? Sorry,
we don't know that. Yeah, sorry, we don't know that right now. So we're just gathering those in a separate account. So if there's any kind of funding that comes through from the province or the Canadian government or whatever, that we have that information ready to present and recover from if that situation arises.
Right. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions for Catherine for the Finance Department? Okay. Moving on, planning. Nothing. Public Works, Jeff does have to speak, but I know he had to take a phone call, so we'll just move on for the moment and go to Parks and Rec. Paul.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. nothing really new, just with the Ontario government announcing the opening of community gardens. They've set out a good set of guidelines, and I've also worked with Judy Green of the health unit to implement how we will be operating under these guidelines. Certain rules that we've put in place that weren't necessarily on there before. We're going to keep the greenhouse and the shed closed and recommend that everyone brings their own shared tools, as it'd be much simpler for us to police. We can't really monitor it 24/7. So luckily I've talked with all the community gardeners in both Lucan and Granton, and they're all very eager to start and very eager to follow these guidelines. So I think it's going to be not an issue in our township.
Okay. Any questions on that for Paul? Okay, seeing none. Economic development, anything, Lisa?
Yeah, we're still working on getting some signage for local businesses to put stickers on their floors, stickers for their windows about how many people can come in the store at a time. So we're just trying to help them with moving forward with hopefully some of the regulations lessening, so they can start having some people in their businesses. And we thought we'd offer even current businesses that are open some free floor stickers if they are currently not using them. So we're working on that. We have some signs coming as well, some more support signs, and we're working on some local shop local kind of different sort of social media campaigns to promote our local businesses. We have one going right now for Mother's Day, and then we're looking at doing some more over the next couple weeks.
Okay, that's great, Lisa. Any questions for Lisa on those campaigns? Okay, Ron, did you want to circle back to Public Works? And
yeah, sorry, my apologies. Jeff is just on the phone with a Nagle Drive resident right now. We're trying to, everybody is really scrambling, trying to compress timelines and get all the signatures we need on that document. It appears we're still waiting for 3 people to sign that. There seems to be a bit of a disconnect with the between the 2 lawyers, and obviously the municipality as staff members, we're not supposed to talk directly to their lawyer either. So that puts us, it's almost like being handcuffed. We can't really talk to him about that. So we are scrambling. I know the residents they're quite adamant that they want to get this going. So again, sorry, Jeff is on the phone there right now, but we are, we spoke to the contractor. The contractor is really willing to start tomorrow with construction, but we need those signatures on there. So what Jeff and I are proposing is that council, I think you've got the wording, Madam Mayor, in front of you on the motion. I think the motion reads something to the effect that the Township of Lucan-Biddulph award the tender to GWX in the amount of, I think it's 498,000 and change plus HST, subject to the execution of a fully executed legal agreement. So that kind of makes it so that we're done on our side, but they need to finish what they need to do. So that kind of puts the ball back in squarely in their court. So that means we're willing to proceed, but that's based on them providing that signed legal agreement. And by the sounds of it, they're still pounding the pavement, trying to get those signatures tonight. Because again, Jeff, you can correct me, you're back in the chair there now, but the contractor is ready to go tomorrow. If we don't have that signed agreement, he is going to have to start his project in Exeter. And that's a fairly big project, as I understand, which means they will not be back and able to start the Nagle Drive project until September. Jeff, did I say that right?
No, that's correct. I feel the frustration of everybody, frustration for everyone. I like to say the frustration of all the residents and stuff, and everybody on council and ourselves. It's just the timing crunch has come here. So I just got off the phone with one of the residents. They're trying to put the signatures together as we speak. I said I would accept any input or any signatures they can get to me tonight. It seems like everybody's very positive. I think it's more of a time crunch than anything. One of the items that maybe I could just go over because everybody's watching this. One item that I would like to go over and be able to say that so everybody realizes that there was one item that there was a question around, and that was when you do an agreement up, you have to state who actually covers the cost. And as we all know, council has agreed to $200,000 of the cost. So one of the then points in the agreement is if there is, and we have the cost set out between a high and a low limit for the residents based on the tendered amount, the contingency, engineering, expenses, taxes, everything that we can think of, we've put into the costs. But as you do in a legal agreement, you've got to have a line in there that says, if there is an extra cost, who covers it? And as we know that we as the municipality have put forth 200,000, it is on the residents to cover that extra. Now, I think a lot of people were worried that that extra was going to be thousands and thousands of dollars, that the tender could run away, or there was going to be an extreme amount of extra costs come in because of the history with this project. Because we've got the tender and because we've done a lot of true life estimates, I'm very confident that those costs are not going to run away. But in a legal agreement, you still got to be aware that if we were $20 over, someone has to cover that $20. So in the agreement, it has to be the residents that cover that $20. Now, and again, I'd say to the residents that are watching, you know, with our costs that are set, I am very confident that the estimates that you were given, that range will be met. In fact, I'm hoping that it could be under that range. So just saying that, I think that information had to get out to the residents, and that's why I'm repeating it at this point. So Ron, I'll go back to you, but right now I've been in contact with them. They are looking at bringing in a draft agreement with the signatures on it, and we hopefully can move forward with that agreement relatively in a short period of time. So I'll just go back to you because I'm kind of jumped in there. I don't know what you've said and what if I'm just overlapping on what you've said. So
No, I think you said it correctly there. So with the wording of the draft motion in front of council there, I think that sort of covers off our obligations, and it puts it squarely back on the shoulders of those residents there that want it. So if they can get that signed agreement to us tonight, Jeff can call the contractor and we can get started on the project tomorrow. If it takes longer than that, the potential is there that contract won't be started until September, which is a shame, but there's not too much else we can do. We can't really officially award that tender until we get that legally signed agreement in front of us. So this one, I think, serves a couple of purposes. Like I said, it takes the onus off us, puts it on them, and as long as they provide that to us, we're good to go.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, we'll deal with the motion at the end of our meeting then. And hopefully the residents that are watching are satisfied with what Jeff has explained, but I would back Jeff up on having the confidence in the numbers that have been put together there. Okay, moving on, councillors' comments. Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I might have missed my opportunity back in staff reports to ask Paul, but I was going to ask if I may.
Yes.
Paul, a question. I just want to know if we could have a bit of an update on the arena and the soccer fields. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, but I was just wondering where everything's at, if anything's moved forward. The grants, I know they're probably not even looking at those, but I'm just curious as to where we're standing with all that.
Yeah, no, that's a good inquiry, Daniel. Right now, we haven't heard anything. Obviously, both the federal and provincial government are very occupied with the COVID-19 situation. I'd be happy to reach out to some of our representatives that we've sent the grants off to and see where they're sitting at. I'm thinking they're not really going to have an answer for me at this time. Because I'm also even curious, some of the conversations I've had as recreation's going to change after this, most likely, what that's going to mean to our projects, and if we need to change maybe some of the proposed projects to accommodate those. For instance, if we're not allowed to have that many people in here, like, do we have to adjust what our plans were? So I'll be happy to reach out and inquire some more.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And as for the soccer fields as well, we're still going on as we were before, getting the planning done so we can have a proposal put together for council on what that project would cost.
Daniel, I'll just jump in. I did have the opportunity to have a conversation with our MPP, Monty McNaughton, probably about a week ago, 10 days ago. And he indicated to me that as far as he knew, they were still pushing them through the process of the vetting and all of that. I mean, as much as, you know, we're all living in this, not every provincial employee is being affected by the pandemic, and many employees can still continue on with the normal business. So his understanding was that it was still going through the regular process, and the last he had heard, it was on the same sort of timeline and looking to get an announcement sometime in the summer. But that can all change. And okay. Any other comments, questions from Councillor? Councillor, Deputy Mayor, and then Councillor Mastarakis.
Just, I'm not sure, Kathy, Jeff had to bounce out. Was there a public works report, or was he done? So I was wondering that. And then also, if he's going to comment, or if you're going to comment on, I believe things are still a go on our spring cleanup, if that's going to be mentioned. Right. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, I didn't know if Jeff was finished, and just wanted to comment on that. So.
Good point.
Yes, Madam Mayor, the spring cleanup's going on with the bins at the shop and in Granton, just like normal. Try Recycling is open, and they're proceeding as normal. So our large item pickup is available as normal. So those items are going on as normal. There is a couple of items I just wanted to update, because I know the Deputy Mayor did ask me about the Clannyboy flowers last week, and I did talk to the flower crew, and there is, at this point, there was no plans on flowers yet into Clannyboy, and basically I asked them what would be the basically the yes or no to that, and it'd be just an addition of cost. There is hydro poles there that we could do some hanging baskets. We could invest in some roadside planters, but I guess that would be something that if council thought they wanted to introduce that into Clannyboy, we can do that. It's just a matter of doing that and getting it in the budget. But as of this year, it won't be this year. It'll be for next year. Before I go, I just had a couple of little updates for council. The Heenan Drain study was completed by the ABCA. The study has been presented to the ministry for review. And just to let council know, this is one of the first steps towards developing options for expansion at the wastewater treatment plant. So this is really good news. It starts the talk or the process of looking at expansion over there if council chooses to do that. So I just wanted to point that out, that study has been completed and it has been forwarded on to the ministry. The only other couple updates, dust control is starting, I believe this week. Joe had it planned for. Our payment tender closes on Wednesday. So we'll have some more information on who's got the tender for our Corsi line this year. So other than that, that's all my items I had for this meeting.
Okay, just before I turn it over to Councillor Mastarakis, any questions specific to Jeff? Okay, Peter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The call for nominations came out for the AMO board for 2020 to 2022. And I would like to put my name forward if council is supportive for the rural caucus. The elections would happen in July, and it's a 2-year term. One of the aspects of this, there could potentially be cost to the township. And how I've managed other conferences or other training sessions is I book them coordinated with my workflow, with my business, so there's no costs that go towards the township. So I would be able to align those meetings and those sessions, so with no additional costs would come to the township for accommodations, mileage, and so forth. But a resolution is required. I'm not sure of the process, but Ron or Kathy, if you could let me know what the steps are or what the other counselors, I don't know if there was interest from others to do the same, but I'll leave it to you.
Okay, I'll maybe get Ron to speak, and then I think the deputy mayor has a question. But I know I do have a staff has prepared a resolution, so we'll deal with that at the end of the meeting. But certainly, congratulations, and I think that's great. So, Ron?
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly that, Madam Mayor, that we did prepare a motion for that. I think the wording is such that council support the nomination for the rural caucus on the AMO board of one councillor, Peter Mastarakis.
I just, before I get to Deputy Mayor's question, I understand, and I think it should just be noted that you are in a position where you can make your work flow with how these meetings will flow. But it just should be noted that if another member of council was to take on a role like that, the majority of the expense does fall on the municipality, and that would be your travel, your mileage, your accommodation, and then your per diems on top of that. So that's just to be noted out there, but you're in a unique position in that you can put the two of them together. Dave.
Yeah, I didn't really have a question. I just same thing as Ron and Kathy had said. That's good. We've never ever had anyone run for that I know of while I've been on council. I just curious, Pete. I know you like looking into things. Do you think there'll be, if you get on, do you think there'll be some unique things that you can bring back to the township or represent the township? You know what I mean? It's good you're doing that. So
yeah. I talked to the executive director on Friday, Brian Rosborough, to get kind of the playing field of it, how they operate, what things they get into. And I think coming back with best practices, giving our area, we've had great growth. We're doing well locally, giving that voice of Lucan out further from what we've done here in our community to share that, our successes, but getting some best practices back that we can put through our community to make ourselves efficient, effective, and so forth. I think there'll be a lot of value from it.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Peter on that? No. Okay, so we'll deal again with that motion at the end of the meeting as well. Councillor Westman, did you have anything else, Peter? Sorry, anything else? Okay. Peter, Alex.
Yeah, just want to get up on the soapbox a little bit about the food bank. To everybody that's watching and council and staff, the food bank is still welcoming lots of donations. As you can imagine, our communities, a lot of people are off work and they are in need. Great news about the community gardens being able to start up and do their work. That's going to be a great thing. Unfortunately, our youth program that was started up in Granton has been canceled for this year, but they are reaching out to the parents and to do some online stuff as well. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out exactly, but it looks like there's going to be something there. That being said, I'm also appealing to everybody to maybe grow a row of vegetables in their garden for the food bank as well. It's a simple enough thing to do, and it would be really appreciated, especially later in the summer. This thing will continue on for a little while, and it's still going to have some impact on our families and our community. So looking for any help that we can get to help the food bank. Just contact them in Elsa Craig. The number is online. I don't have it handy with me right now, but I'm sure they'd appreciate anything you could help them with. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Alex. And just on that note, I know that Lisa had sent an email out to everybody that we were going to organize a food drive for this week, but in talking to the fire department and the Lions Club, they are in the process of organizing a food drive for, I think it's the second week in June. So we're just going to jump off on that and partner with them and do one large food drive that will hit both the Lucan, Granton, Clandeboye areas. But if anybody's in a position right now to be donating, I just wanted to mention my colleague, Ina DeViet, who is the mayor of Middlesex Center. She is doing a COVID challenge where she's challenging her community, Middlesex Center, to collect a certain amount of, I think it was up to $5,000 in value, either through money or food donations, towards the Elsa Craig Food Bank. And if she reaches that goal, then, and it has to be by Friday, for Mother's Day, she is going to have her husband cut her hair, and it's going to be a COVID cut. So certainly if anybody is going to the food bank between now and the end of the week, I would really appreciate it if you said that those donations should go towards the Middlesex Center challenge. Because I think it would be great, the work that Ina's doing, and to see that her husband cut her hair and see how that goes. So best of luck to our friends in Middlesex Center on that. Daniel?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Where do people volunteer if they want to, or do they need volunteers for the June food drive?
Yeah, we'll get that out as we come close to that date. And
thank you.
Certainly, from what I understand, and I know this is kind of how Lisa had thought she was going to mirror it. About 3 weeks ago, there was a food drive in Thorndale for the Dorchester, the Thames Center Food Bank, and it was a contactless food drive, and obviously they didn't use the fire trucks, but they used pickup trucks and a driver and somebody following along, and residents would put the food at the end of the driveway. So it will mirror something in that effect, but more details will come as we get closer to June. And the other reason why we would do that is then to stagger these food drives, because if anybody's been to the Elsa Craig Food Bank, we know that space is limited for them. They have made some adjustments, and they've kind of come out into the thrift store a bit, but they do have some challenges with the space. So if our communities can work with the food bank and do these staggered food drives, I think it will benefit them for sure. Okay, any other comments? I just had one, I think. Just with regards to Thursday, Ron had sent an invitation out to everybody from the CAO of Middlesex County. Traditionally, what happens is the county comes out and visits each municipality on a yearly basis, the warden and the CAO, and it's an update as to what's happening in the county and that sort of thing. This year, the challenge of everybody meeting virtually, we actually saw this as a great opportunity. So our council visit is going to be a little bit different in that all of the communities, all of the municipalities have been invited to attend the webinar, which is Thursday, and it's at 2 o'clock. And it'll be a presentation from County Council. Myself and Bill, but not only that, we are going to have some members of the senior staff participate as well. And as I say, this is a great opportunity because normally it's just the warden and the CAO that come to the lower tiers and talk about what's going on in the county. This will give everybody an opportunity to meet some of the senior staff, find out what's happening in land ambulance with Strathmere, that sort of thing. So it's going to operate, it's the same Zoom platform, although it's operating a little bit differently. It's a webinar form. There'll be opportunity for you to submit questions, and it's all very straightforward. If you're familiar with these Zoom meetings, there's a chat feature where you can put in questions, but on the webinar, your face won't be shown, but you are still able to ask questions, or you could submit questions ahead of time. And then it'll be the same thing if you're unable to join us live at 2 on Thursday, you'll be able to watch the playback on YouTube. And there'll be an email address that's provided that if you have a question that comes out of the presentation, you can send your question in, and then we'll answer it from there. So I'm excited by it. It's certainly a different format, and it's different than any other warden visit, warden CAO visit. So it'll all be new, but you know, I think it's a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for the lower tiers to get to know more bodies from the county. So if you can, join us on Thursday at 2 o'clock. And if you didn't get the link, just ask Ron and he'll send it to you again. And other than that, I think that that is it. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Okay, seeing none. So we don't have any changes to budget, no notices of motion. Okay, then we will move on to our motions. Okay, so resolved that the council award the tender for the Nagle Drive water main extension to GWEX Inc. in the amount of $439,284 plus HST, subject to the submission of a fully executed legal agreement by all parties. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Mastarakis and Councillor Regan. Any discussion on that? All opposed? And that is carried. Resolved that the Council of the Township of Lucan-Biddulph supports the nomination of Councillor Peter Mastarakis for the position of Rural Caucus Director for the 2020 to 2022 AMO Board of Directors. A mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Westman. All opposed? And that is carried. Resolved that if no one cares to speak to these bylaws on their first, second, and third reading, that they be considered to have been read a first time and passed, read a second time and passed, read a third time and passed, and that they be numbered 17-2020, the execution of development agreement for 1525020 Ontario Inc., and 18-2020, the confirming bylaw. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Regan and Deputy Mayor Manders, and all opposed, and that is carried. And that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:33 p.m. A mover and seconder for that. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all opposed, and that is carried. Thank you very much. It's great seeing you. You all look great, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.